Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alissa, Coram, and Ed Carson here, and it was a strong day for growth stocks and the NASDAQ. Ed, give us a rundown of the stocks we're going to be checking in on today.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at Lululemon and Masimo, which both cleared buy points, while Shopify just had a huge gain from a short-term trend line.
That it did, but first let's check in on those major indexes. The NASDAQ had a particularly strong day, up 2.5%, while the Dow was essentially flat, and the S&P 500 up 0.8%. So just when you think that we're ready for a little rest on the NASDAQ, we're proven otherwise, Ed.
Yeah, it looked like, maybe after the first couple of days last week, we were going to trade tightly here and we're going to just move sideways for a little bit. Really powerful move, looks great. The only concern you could have is that we're sort of running into the top of the trading channels that we've been trading in during this rally, and really since a long-term trading channel from 2009. So, maybe you could be concerned about limited upside, but the rally has just sort of brushed past resistance the entire time.
Yeah, it has. And let's check in on a couple of leading stocks, starting off with Lululemon, a breakout here today, gaining 3.2% and hitting new high ground. Now, this base here, a very shallow depth, nice and tight at 12%, was really the first rest that this stock has taken since this huge run up in this rally. So offering a new buy point here for investors who may have, up until this point, just been watching on the sidelines, waiting for a new opportunity.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of stocks that had really deep consolidations, forming another basis, providing an opportunity a little bit safer, perhaps. You could sort of see that there was sort of a little short-term resistance that it got above. So that provided maybe a tiny early entry, but just barely. And now moved above this area. Lululemon, it has strong digital sales. I mean, it had a terrible quarter last quarter, and it probably isn't going to have a very good quarter this time either. But investors are betting that it's going to be a real, that it's going to do relatively well and going to look really strong heading out of this recession.
And let's also check in on Masimo, MASI, a very strong day, up 5% here, and it cleared a lower resistance level right around that 240 area, but some really nice volume coming into the stock, closing at or near the high end of its range. So even though it's still off of its all-time highs, a chance for investors to act with this action today.
That's right. And you could almost draw a trend line from the upper channel there down to the top of the handle. So if people who wanted to sneak in a little early, they could have. I mean, Masimo, the relative strength line isn't the best, but we also have to look at what it did before. It didn't really fall that much at all during the market crash. In fact, except for like a week, it was sort of holding steady, really went straight up, was one of the early leaders. Yeah, it's consolidated now, but after that powerful uptrend, that RS is doing pretty well. And as you're noting, yeah, it's getting over a short-term high. So it's everything's looking good in this regard. The only problem is it has earnings coming up next week.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to mention there too, Ed. And I know Masimo was added to our swing trader platform earlier. So potentially this might be a situation where you want to get in and out ahead of the quarterly report, depending on the amount of cushion that you're able to build when it is time for those quarterly numbers to be released.
Yeah, I may want to think of it as a swing trade, as since we put it on Swing Trader. And it's also IBD stock of the day. So if you want to read more about this, it's a really interesting company. So I would definitely suggest looking at that at investors.com.
All right. And last but not least, let's check in on Shopify, ticker SHOP. A very strong gain today of 8.8%. Volume about average, but higher than it had been the past couple of trading sessions here. This stock went on a really big run after breaking out of this cup. We were even pegging this earlier entry here. So, and since then, it really hasn't offered too many additional opportunities to get in, pulling only back as far as this 21-day line rather than that 50-day line, which is a typical area where we like to see those pullbacks to add. But for a lot of these high power growth names during this rally, again, they've really only paused so much as to briefly pull back to their 21-day lines and not really offer the full setup of a base. So how do you handle something like this when you're really only given those brief moments with these mild pullbacks?
I mean, you could, and obviously it has worked throughout this rally. You could buy, additional shares or take a tiny taste off of these 21-day rebounds. It's already extended from that, so you wouldn't want to do it here. But the real issue is that it's been working because the NASDAQ has been finding support at the 21-day. If the NASDAQ ever came to its 50-day line, some of these growth stocks would be coming down really hard too. I mean, it's you just have to, if you're going to do it, make it small and don't buy Shopify and Fastly and Datadog and Amazon, all of them buying off the 21-day line, because then you're just sort of like just bound, playing with fire with that kind of situation. If you're going to play really aggressively, you probably want to do it in really small amounts at these high levels with the market and for some of these stocks.
Right. And maybe, we do see Shopify set up in a base here, but that might be wishful thinking.
That might be wishful thinking.
Strong everything has been during this rally for these, especially the software names. You blink and that little entry is already gone. But we've been watching these like hawks on IBD Live every morning. Shopify, just one of the names that we've been keeping close tabs on, and that we hope you join us each morning on our daily live stream where our experts are sharing their screens and talking about a lot of these actionable stocks.
Yeah, and we're talking about them. We talked about all these stocks today, and I think just in general, it help you keep you flexible, because if as we start seeing, hey, wait a second, this market is showing this sign or that sign, because you want to follow the trend right now, but you want to be able to get out if the trend turns against you.
Yeah. Very good point there, Ed. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. And be sure to tune into IBD Live. You can find that more details at investors.com/IBD Live. But that's it for us today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.